Today, we are digging into a really disturbing set of legal documents. They lay out a case of alleged technological torture, intense psychological abuse, and a pretty desperate search for justice. We're going to explain the core allegations from these files, focusing on the network of people who are allegedly behind it all.
I am a prisoner in my own body. Wow. That single sentence, taken directly from a criminal complaint filed with the military prosecutor, really just cuts right to the heart of this entire situation. It speaks to a complete loss of freedom, of autonomy. So what is the operation that allegedly could lead to such a state?
Well, according to all the source material we've reviewed, everything seems to revolve around this one clandestine operation that the perpetrators allegedly call show radio.
So, what is show radio? Well, this is where it gets complicated. The documents claim it has a dual identity. On the surface, it's presented as some kind of a show, something maybe artistic or entertaining. But the legal analysis argues this is just a cover story, a front for what's really a non-consensual clinical trial that involves continuous neural torture. The entire operation, it's claimed, is built on this lie.
The legal documents trace the very beginning of all this back to May 2022 in the United Kingdom. The core allegation is that a brain-computer interface device, a BCI, was surgically implanted without any consent, and this is a really crucial point in the legal filings. They claim this technological violation happened first, before any kind of agreement was even talked about, which would make any consent that came later totally invalid from a legal standpoint.
So what exactly is this technology they're talking about? The complaints are actually very specific about the tools allegedly used to carry all of this out. Let's break down the alleged arsenal. Okay, first up, there's the BCI-AI. The documents describe it as basically a two-way street directly into the human mind. The read function supposedly allows operators to access thoughts, memories, even your senses, all in real time. But it's the write function that's even more disturbing. The allegations are that it can be used to inject commands, create very real sensations of pain, and generate incredibly vivid hallucinations.
And it doesn't stop there. Paired with the BCI is something the documents call V2K, which stands for voice-to-skull technology. This is described as a sonic weapon that beams voices and sounds directly into a person's skull, completely bypassing the ears. According to the complaints, this is the mechanism for constant, inescapable auditory harassment. There's literally no way to shut it out. So you put those two technologies together, and what do you get? Well, the combined effect described in the complaints is just staggering. We're talking about the ability to read thoughts, to cause severe physical pain like migraines, to inject hallucinations, to actually manipulate motor functions and force someone's body to move, and even to dial up emotions like fear or despair on command. It's described as a system of total control.
Okay, so we've covered the what and the how. Now we get to the central focus of this explainer, the who. Let's look at the individuals named in these complaints as the alleged operators of all this technology.
And this is where a really critical and frankly chilling detail comes out. The alleged perpetrators aren't anonymous strangers hiding behind a screen. The documents claim the network is made up almost entirely of the victim's former school colleagues. The analysis suggests this was a deliberate choice, specifically designed to make the psychological torment and humiliation as intense as possible.
And here are the key individuals named in those legal filings. The complaints accuse Roxana Zerbo of being an active operator involved in everything from inducing pain and sexual harassment to even offering money for silence. Andrei Baldian, who also goes by Sigo, is accused of extreme psychological torture. Ian Baltag is named in connection with inducing disturbing sexual hallucinations. And finally, Cristiana Lucia Papai is accused of blackmail and instigating suicide, all while supposedly claiming she had connections with English intelligence services.
But the documents don't just list names and roles. They provide very specific, very personal examples of the alleged abuse. So we're going to examine these now, kind of like a series of case files.
First up, this case file centers on what the documents describe as highly targeted psychological warfare. This quote, pulled right from the complaint, is just devastatingly specific. The allegation against Andrei Baldian isn't about some vague, general harassment. No, it's about a deeply personal attack, allegedly mocking the victim's paralyzed mother. This really shows the personalized, calculated cruelty that's described throughout these filings. It was designed to inflict the maximum emotional pain possible.
All right, our second case file details allegations of sexual harassment, but with a very specific and discriminatory motive behind it.
Yeah, according to the analysis report, the operators allegedly stated out loud that a primary goal of this show was to, and I'm quoting here, try and change your sexual orientation. This completely reframes the alleged sexual harassment by operators like Roxana Zirbo and Ionut Baltag. It wasn't just random cruelty. It was part of a targeted, discriminatory attack on the victim's core identity.
So what are the real-world consequences of this kind of constant alleged abuse? Well, according to documents filed with both the United Nations and the European Court of Human Rights, the relentless commands to kill yourself have resulted in approximately 15 induced suicide attempts.
Faced with this unimaginable situation, where do you even turn? This final section outlines the attempts to engage the legal system for help, all detailed in the source files.
You can really see a pattern of escalation here on this timeline. The journey for justice allegedly started back in May 2022 with attempts to file complaints with the local Romanian police, which the documents claim were flat out refused. After years of what's described as total inaction, the approach shifted dramatically. In late 2025, a complaint went to the European Commission. Then, just days later, a criminal complaint citing classified technology was filed with Romania's military prosecutor, which then punted the case back to its regional unit.
And this is where we get to what the legal filings call a complete perversion of justice. The documents allege that the very same prosecutor's office that refused to investigate these torture claims instead initiated criminal proceedings against the victim for some minor thefts. The filings argue these acts weren't committed out of free will, but were a direct result of the technological manipulation, a tactic they call induced culpability, basically designed to discredit the victim and make them look like the criminal.
And that brings us to the end of our explainer. The allegations laid out in these legal documents are profound. They speak of weaponized neurotechnology, of systemic failure, and of deeply personalized cruelty. It all raises some huge questions. But the final one on this slide is maybe the most important one for all of us. When technology can literally read our minds, who is going to write the rules to protect them?